We are back with episode 4 of Doom Patrol, and it is titled Casey Patrol. Honestly, last episode wasn't my favorite. I felt like there's a lot that could have happened that really didn't. However, I did enjoy this episode. It was a lot of fun. And it also introduced us to a brand new Doom Patrol character who is part of the team in the comics, but we'll get to that. So before I jump into it, welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. Overall, like I said, it was a fun episode. I like seeing Danny the Street back. We got Abigail back, and all the people that live with Danny the Street, which I think was pretty cool, showing that they're still kind of hiding and they're not accepting into the world, but by the end of it, they're finally realizing that it's time. It's time to go out into the world. It's time to face all the discrimination, because not everyone hates them, and that there are people who will stand up for them. Just like that one kid was showing when he was trying to fix the mural near the end of the episode. So not everyone hates them and likes people like this, and they don't want to see them hiding anymore, and they want to actually help them out. So it's giving all the people that have been hiding for so long the confidence and everything to leave, because they don't have to worry about the haters and people discriminating against them anymore, because there are always going to be people who are there and allies to them. I also really liked how this episode was really showing that Abigail has been going through stuff since Niles died, and she has no outlet for that. Every time she thinks about the Doom Patrol, her imaginary friend, she thinks of her father, who she is mad at because he kept her young for so goddamn long that when she's finally growing up, he's not there to be with her. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. And then the whole plot about Immortus is also tied to this episode as well, which I thought was really cool, that it looks like each episode is going to have something in it that's tying back to Immortus. Also, Space Case is going to be a pretty cool character going forward, because she's a very energetic character that's kind of a little bit dorky and weird, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. When they started the episode, I liked how they started with the comic book reference, like they're showing it as a comic book, and they're showing it as Abigail talking about the comic book, which I like the visuals they had on screen of the panels and everything. And on top of it, I'm pretty sure they had a Thanos reference in there, because Torminox is purple, and I feel like they just slid that Thanos reference in there too, because in the comic they said inevitable, which, hey, I feel like that's still a poke to Thanos. And I thought it was really interesting how Abigail has said in the beginning, she's like, oh, and me and Candlemaker broke into this place to steal the necklace back so I could talk back to my father. And then later in the episode, she's like, yeah, I haven't actually talked to him in weeks, and I got someone else to do it. Like I said before, she can't talk to her imaginary friends because all it does is remind her of Niles. So she's trying to hide from her past. But by the end of the episode, she kind of realizes that she needs to go forward. She can't be stuck in the past anymore. Even if it makes her sad by remembering her father, she has to go through with it because it's the only way for her to move forward. Also, I really like the reference to Danny the Street being an ambulance, and that's how they get around, because in the comics, Danny is also Danny the Ambulance, which also in the comics, Danny's actually the one that made the Space Case comics. Apparently in this, it's another guy that's been writing the story, so they slightly changed it, unless that's going to end up being revealed as another version of Danny. But I thought that was pretty cool that they had the Danny the Ambulance, you got Danny the Street, and then Case Space, which is all connected together in the comics. Because in the comics, Casey Brink is a generous and eccentric member of the Doom Patrol, who's a fictional character created by Danny the Ambulance, and she also uses her abilities to help drive the Doom Patrol in Danny through time and space. So she controls Danny through time and space, and I wonder if they'll do that in a TV show in some way. So I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. And even in this episode, when they're talking about Casey's backstory and Torminox's backstory and everything, because Abigail breaks the information to Casey saying, hey, you're a comic book character, and she's like, yeah, your mother sacrificed herself to save you. Father had a lab accident that turned him into what he is, and you spent years fighting your father just to lose a leg. And in the comics, both her mother dying and her father being turned into Torminox is part of it. And she also loses her leg, but slightly differently in the comics, where in the comics, she loses her leg when she's pulled by Vectra out of Dannyland. So pretty cool comic references tying everything back to, where it originally comes from in the actual comic books in real life, which I thought was pretty cool. Actually following her origin and everything else, because she is a comic book character in this comic book world, so it's cool to tie all that back together. And I like it when they go to face off against Torminox. Abigail's like, Candlemaker, I need your help, come help me, and then he gets his ass handed to him right away. I'm like, damn. So it's looking like Torminox and a bunch of other people that are working with Immortus are going to be OP as shit, because Candlemaker took out the whole Doom Patrol, and now Candlemaker just got his ass kicked by one villain. And it's going to be interesting to see how these guys take everyone on, because they're already looking pretty strong. I like how when they go to meet Torminox again, so that they can get Danny back and Candlemaker, they try to persuade him by using a picture of him and Casey before he got changed when she was still a kid, to try to like pull him back towards him, because Casey saw something in him, thinking that there's a chance that he could change back to the man he once was. He has hope. It's kind of shitty because he ends up turning on them and taking the necklace that he needed, that was actually a necklace that Immortus needed to be risen again, because we see the girl from last episode that took Rita's emotions to meet this guy who was writing the comic books. So it's looking like in this that the dude that writes Casey's comic books is also the same person who's trying to get Immortus to rise once again. And the whole reason Torminox is working with him is because Torminox wants to be returned and be the father he once was. So this is the only way to do it, because Immortus will give them everything they wanted, a better life and all that. So it looks like Immortus can do like reality changing shit, which I'm pretty sure is just changing his character from the comics. So it's pretty interesting to see what's happening and how this is all going to wrap up and what else Immortus needs to be risen again. And I like how Casey and Abigail are going to go find the guy who's writing the comic book so that Casey can get him to write a new story for her and her father so that he can be her father once again. However, you know, we just saw what's going to happen. He's going to work with Immortus. But their first stop is going to be seeing the Doom Patrol. And it all ties together because the Doom Patrol is going to end up running into Immortus. And also Casey and Abigail are going to run in, and they're going to be one big team. So I am looking forward to them both joining the Doom Patrol again, because Casey is a Doom Patrol member in the comics. It's going to be cool to see her interact with the whole team. I'm really interested in seeing what happens next, because I'm assuming each episode now is going to lead into something, is going to keep going to Immortus will rise, and we will keep hearing that until he rises. And it probably happened at the mid-season final, which is in the new year, and then Titans comes back, so that's probably what's going to happen. And I'm interested to seeing what happens and who Immortus really is, because again, it seems like they're changing it from the comics, because in the comics he was like a general who obsessed with war, but this doesn't seem like the same type of person, and they're changing it but using his name because Immortus just sounds pretty cool. So I feel like it's gonna be oh, you think it's this character? Nah, it's gonna be that character instead. What did you think of this episode? Let me know down in the comments. Were there any Easter eggs or details I might have missed? Because I'm interested in seeing more Easter eggs from Doom Patrol, because I don't know Doom Patrol as well as some other characters, and I'm always intrigued by finding out like, hey, this is what's going on here, and this is who that is, and so on. And I'm also really interested in thinking what's going to happen with Immortus. Do you think he's going to be a different bad guy just using the name Immortus? Or do you think it's going to be the general obsessed with war, and the guy who's actually making him rise again doesn't actually realize that? Very intrigued to hear what you guys' thoughts are. And don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more, because it helps out the channel a lot and I really appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.